mean, you know, the law is, like I say, it needs to be revised or repealed. It's too vague. It's not enough specificalities in it. I just made that word up.
Specificalities. All right, David. Well, how do you all think you would feel had, for instance, Trayvon had been a family member of yours? Okay, Trayvon was a little cousin or a little brother of yours. And for instance, if this had been a situation where the younger individual or the smaller individual had violently acted out on the adults and they were killed as a result, if that were to be the case, do you all think it would still be justified?
The fact that there was a gun
Mm-hmm.
brought to the fight,
Mm-hmm.
it's still, you can't justify killing someone.
Mm-hmm.
Even if if somebody hits you, a hit is a hit, and this boy was 100 pounds lighter than the guy that did the killing. Now, if Trayvon was 250 pounds, hypothetically speaking,
Mm-hmm.
and he was the one, acting out and, really like giving it to this guy, then I guess it could be justified if that was the case. But, honestly, Trayvon kind of had a right to come at Zimmerman because Zimmerman was the person that approached him.
Mm-hmm.
So if you approach, like if you're coming to me and you're following me and I'm minding my own business, I'm going in attack mode. I'm like, hold up, watch out, what you doing? And, there probably was a scuffle. And, if you pull out a gun and you shoot me, I was threatened, so I did come towards you, but I don't think that Zimmerman had a right to shoot regardless. I just think in that case, regardless, no one should have got shot in that case.
Do you think the fact that this young African-American man, Trayvon Martin, was walking around in a gated community in what is a predominantly Caucasian community, do you think that the reason why that this were to occur in this particular community, and I find it interesting that it occurred in this particular community, a gated community in the suburbs of Florida, do you think that maybe the reason why George Zimmerman felt the need to go after him was because do you think there's this mentality that possibly that individuals who may live in gated communities or high-end suburban communities may have this false sense of security? And what does the word gated community means? Because that was brought to my attention as well.
Yeah, I know some cases in Georgia excuse me. I know some cases in Georgia that have a certain time of the day in certain secluded area you can't go. You can't go down that street at a certain time of day.
Mm-hmm.
That's in Avondale Estate. You cannot go down unless the police won't know
who you are.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's wrong.
And
wrong.
do you live here?
Yeah, do you live here? They stop you if you got no reason.
You think that's wrong?
Yeah, because you might be just going through there, driving through there, and this area I'm talking about was Avondale Estate. A certain time of day they got signs on it. You cannot go down that street. If you go down that street a certain time, you're gonna be stopped by a cop.
Mm-hmm. So you don't think that maybe the people of that community just want their community to be protected?
I think Zimmerman acted straight out of vigilante justice.
Well, no. Well, hold up. Let's separate this from the Trayvon Martin situation. Let's just simply speak on communities of this nature as a whole. Do you think that the reason why people may be a little more aware or a little bit more cautious is because in these communities as you speak of, or communities with neighborhood watch, simply because they want their neighborhood to feel safe?
I think in communities like this, people know if you live in a community like this, you make a phone call to the police, they're going to be there 10 minutes top.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of communities, most of the time they have a security guard on deck,
Mm-hmm.
and they have access, and when they make a phone call, the police are going to be there. So in communities like this, I don't think you have Zimmermans walking around. I don't think that's the norm I think this was an extraordinary situation given the area and the place, because most of these people, I know that if I make a phone call, the police are going to be there in 2 to 3 minutes. I don't think I'm going to be as enticed to go out and, take vigilante justice into my own hands. I just don't get that kind of vibe from gated communities, and I lived in a gated community before, and living in a gated community, if I made a phone call, the police was going to be there. The only people that know how to get in the gate is the people with the password, the remote control on the car, or the police. Those are the people that can get in the gate anyway. So
do you think that among these communities there is this false sense of security, of 100% security?
I think that's part of the appeal of the gated community, is that sense of security.
I was about to say the same thing you said. It's just, it's a physical barrier between them and
the rest of the world.
So it's just, they have that false sense of security. They feel untouchable. The community itself.
I agree. I agree with that too. Because if you see somebody walking down the street, you don't know what the situation are. You call the police, and they like you said, they come in a few minutes. So,
do you think this case would have reached as big of a level as it did had this happened in an urban community, predominantly populated by minorities? You do?
I don't think it would have.
You don't think it would have?
No.
You say you don't. Okay, David, you said yes.
That same situation.
If that same situation had happened in an urban community, do you think that it would have caused the same amounts?
An urban white neighborhood,
no.
A black kid is walking through a white neighborhood, or minority or majority neighborhood, a minority walking through a majority neighborhood.
If the same Trayvon Martin situation had occurred in an urban neighborhood, in an inner city neighborhood that was predominantly populated with minorities.
Well, this case was 2 minorities anyway. Zimmerman and what's the name?
I'm talking about I'm speaking on the neighborhood as a whole.
I think Dave is just giving you a hard time, Ed.
No, it's okay. It's fine.
But I understand what you're trying to say, and I don't think it would have been a big deal.
You don't think it would have been a big deal?
Because honestly, it wouldn't have been, because this case is kind of like a racial profiling issue. Now, if a black person is racially profiling another black person, it wouldn't have been a big deal, in my opinion.
And this is something else that I would like to know. Why is this case all of a sudden? Why do you all think this case has all of a sudden become something about race? Why hasn't this just been an issue of people against people?
It's how it's carried out. This whole case is because this situation wasn't carried out properly. The police didn't do their job properly. Zimmerman didn't do what he was supposed to be doing, because he shouldn't have brought a gun to a Skittles fight. And the whole thing is, it wasn't carried out properly, and that's where the case is. That's what the case is about. The case is somebody should have been arrested. He should have been at least detained. I mean, you murder a man and go home to sleep in your own bed. You didn't even have to go to the headquarters and file a police can't shoot somebody and just go home. They got to go and file a complete police report. They let this guy get away with something they can't even do. So that's what the case is.
I agree with you saying. You the police murder someone, they're gonna put him on death leave for a while. They're not gonna put him back in. They're not gonna put him back in the community. And I don't understand why they did it different. A police shoot somebody, a police might have been justified shooting somebody. They're gonna put him in the office, take him off the police until they investigate him. I can't understand why they didn't do this case the same way. This guy wasn't even a cop. They're gonna, that's what I'm saying.
And I think when you think about it, and when I first heard of the case, I try to tell everybody the media has a lot of influence on the way people think, whether you believe it or not. I know this because this is my career field and I see it happening. What is being said by most media outlets, that is how the people will think. If the media says this, then usually, most likely, the public will go for it. If the media doesn't say it, then the public usually won't think about it. Do you think that the media may have possibly put too much emphasis on the fact do you think the media may have put too much emphasis on race rather than just crimes against people against people? Because I saw other sources out there saying that now all of a sudden, now that it was discovered, first of all, everyone thought George Zimmerman was white. First of all, I could look at him and tell that he was not. If he was white, he wasn't fully Caucasian. Okay, because unlike some other people out there, I consider myself a very culturalized individual, very well-rounded, culturally, all of that. I could look at him and tell, first of all, that he was not fully Caucasian. First mistake, number one. Second mistake was that people were saying that this was a white on black crime. No, it was not. As you see, George Zimmerman's mother is Peruvian. He's South American. This has nothing to do with white on black anything. It is nothing of that nature. So then all of a sudden you start spitting these lies out by saying, oh, well, this is a white on black crime thing. Now all of a sudden you're starting to fill people up with this idea that white people are killing black people, and that it was not even the case. And now when people discovered that George Zimmerman was Hispanic, now they want to say that, okay, so now it's Hispanic on black crime. What in the world? People, when are we going to just stop adding color to everything and just start realizing that it's people committing crimes against people? And the reason why I say this, and I have to say this, the reason why I have to say this is because I think when you start putting color into something, you begin to either one, anger people, or alienate audiences. When you begin to make something that is a black issue, other ethnicities don't feel like they can be a part of this issue that is being spoke about because they're not African American. When you begin to talk about quote unquote Hispanic issues, you alienate, you distance the issue from other ethnic backgrounds because they don't feel they can be a part of it, because you're making it an issue that is specific to that particular race of people. That is why I try to say, and I've even said on this show before, issues that you think are only within the black community, they're not. They're not, because working in this industry, I've learned that every problem that you think is only in your community, every single other ethnicity, religious group, creed, nationalities, they go through the same problems. It's just that we choose not to open up our minds to realizing that other people are going through those problems, because I think sometimes I think races of people, ethnic groups, victimize themselves into thinking that, oh, woe is us, we have these problems, we have those problems, we have these problems. These problems are just among people, period. They're among people in general. And I think once people begin to realize that, problems won't be so race specific.
Well, in this situation, it became a race problem when the 911 tape came out. You know, in this situation,
I have heard the 911 tape. Yes.
You know, in this situation, that brought the race problem was brought out, and I hate that it was, because you know, the Latino community and the black community, I believe we really should be bonded together. You know, all communities should be, but specifically, you know, I think we should.
Why the black and Hispanic community?
Because we vote. We have the same self-interest. We vote in blocks. We're like-minded people. I mean, if you look at the foods, our foods are close together. Our cultures are close together. If you look at instruments used in, let's say, in Mexican mariachi music, most of those instruments are African instruments. It migrated with Africans when they came to South America and the southern part of North America. You know, we are like-minded. We're so connected, and not understanding that, and us being at odds with each other, hurts us. And you have some communities where blacks and Latinos work together fine. You have some, you know, situations where there is a rift, and I hate that when these kind of incidents happen, because it causes a bigger rifts where there are rifts, and it causes rifts where rifts don't exist when we make it an issue like this. But you know, me personally, I hate that it did turn out to be a Latino versus black crime.
But that wasn't even the case, though, that it was a black and Latino. I mean, he wasn't. Go ahead, Zandra.
Before there was a name, a face to the name.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when the 911 tapes came out, and you know, before people actually seen a picture of George Zimmerman, they did just assume that he was a white man.
And I could clearly look at him and tell that he was not.
But when you look at the picture, you can tell that he is. I mean, I just thought he was of Hispanic descent. I could tell.
I knew that's what he
picture.
was. Yes.
But I really, like I said earlier, I really don't think it was him